You did it.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Elevate Your Life podcast. My name is Paul Croto, and I'm here with Cheryl Morley.
Hi there. I'm super excited to be here, Paul. This is going to be so awesome.
Oh my God. How cool is this? I mean, we've been talking about doing this podcast for a long time. We've done a couple actually, but we're 100% in now and excited to be sharing with people and adding value to their life. And so I just want to let everyone know that this is the Elevate Your Life podcast. On Mondays, we're going to focus on elevate your mindset. So we're going to take different areas of life. We're going to talk about elevate your mindset, health, leadership. I mean, every topic under the sun, we're going to be touching on. So we're going to be doing this live on Zoom. So you can come into Zoom, and that's elevatezoom.com. So just go to elevatezoom.com, enter the password elevate, and you can get in and answer questions or ask questions and make comments and all kinds of things live in here. We're also broadcasting live on YouTube. Hi, everyone on YouTube. And we are also going to have this on our podcast channel, which is elevatepodcast.com. You can listen on Apple or whatever podcast app you use to listen.
Paul.
So today, Cheryl,
it's a lot.
We are talking about how to elevate your set point. Now, what in the world is set point?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I said a few things earlier and you didn't stop and let me speak. So I was just wondering.
Well, maybe you were muted because I didn't hear anything. But the floor is all yours now.
Oh, that is really, really great. Okay, so a set point. So a set point is basically where you are comfortable. So it's like inside your comfort zone is your set point. It's where you're comfortable at. So it's kind of like the thermostat in your house. So most of us are comfortable at 72 degrees, right? So 72 degrees is where we have our thermostat set. Well, you have a thermostat set in your life also. In all areas of your life, you have the thermostat set to whatever feels comfortable to you. So let's say if you have your thermostat in your life set at 72 degrees, then that's really like you are living your life at 72%. So 72% is, I mean, that's good. It's all right, but it is not fabulous, I like to say. So it's fine. It's, it's where you're most comfortable and it's where you're at. So we kind of want you guys to think about that as we go over this, this thermostat idea today about where you are at in your life. Like, where do you think your thermostat is set at?
Yeah.
I love this whole thing. I love it.
Yeah. And everything we do, Cheryl and I do, we're about elevate. We're about moving from fine to fabulous and helping people raise their temperatures. Basically what this is all about. That's what Elevate Your Life's about. It's getting the temperature up in your life so that you can live this amazing lifestyle that you want to live. And the analogy of the thermostat is the best. And I, so Cheryl and I also want to say things in these classes so that you can have reference points and analogies that make sense to you. So you can make sense of the things we're saying. And I just think saying that 72 degrees is 72% just makes sense. It just, people can relate to that, hopefully, and know that, in school, when you got 70s, you were a C student, you're average, you're good. That's good. It's not great. It's not B's. It's not excellent at A's, but it's good. And that's where a lot of people are living life. And if that is where you love living life is good, then you should click on the stop button or the exit button or whatever button you need to push to leave, because that is not who we are. We are all about being surrounded with people who want to go up. That's the only direction that we go. So if you want to go up, you're in the right place at the right time. So I love this quote by Tony Robbins. He says, the strongest force in the human personality is our need to remain consistent on how we define ourselves. So it's so powerful. And basically what he's saying there is that we will do whatever it takes. And it is weird the way that the human mind works, but it will do whatever it takes to stay at this comfort level, this temperature of 72. and it'll actually sabotage you. I mean, you'll be having great success. You'll be making all kinds of money. You'll have relationships are going great. You finally met the guy of your dreams and everything's going good. And then all of a sudden this air conditioning system kicks in and you start doing stupid things that sabotage the whole thing. Or if you're losing weight and you're like, whoa, wait, I've never been at this weight before. You start sabotaging that. And so many people go back to the weight or gain more weight simply because of where their set point is in their mind. It's not that they don't know how to exercise or how to eat right or take the supplements or anything like that. They have not changed their set point. So that is a focus of Cheryl and mine's throughout all these, especially Monday classes, but really all of our podcasts that we do. So Cheryl, talk about this concept of the box and what some of the things are that are in the box that we can actually measure.
Right. So inside your box, you're going to have and this is where you feel safe. So it's really your comfort zone, right? But we're going to call it a box. So you're inside this box and you have your temperature set at whatever that is. So it could be 72, it could be 75, it could be 60, it could be 65, whatever it is, just like Paul said, your whole life, your whole body and mind and everything are going to want you to stay at that temperature. It will not want you to raise it. If it's raised anywhere else, that's fine. It could raise for a little bit, but it will always come back to that temperature. So some of the things that we can, inside our box, for instance, your weight. So your weight would be one of them, right? So your weight, you know what's comfortable for you as far as your weight goes. And you will stay there and you will not be able to lose weight or gain weight or whatever it is if your temperature's set at a certain weight. And that happened to me, actually. I stayed at the same weight for so long and I literally tried everything. I'm like, I'm doing keto and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And nothing was working. So I literally had to change the temperature or change the way I thought about my weight. Like I had to have a whole new set point for my weight, which I got. And then I quickly lost the 35 pounds, right? And believe me, it did not take that long for me to do that. As soon as I reset, had a different set point. So
yes,
weight
which
is
will
one.
Teach you,
oh, go ahead, Paul.
which we'll teach you how to do in this class and future classes. But so basically what we're asking you to do here is put down the weight that you're usually at or at now. And that is, and rate that on a scale from 1 to 100. Like, is that awesome that your weight you're at right now? Or is that like average where it's like 72 degrees? So your weight on a scale from 1 to 100, and everyone knows they've been in school. We've all been in school. We know what that scale looks like. So how would you grade your weight on a scale from 1 to 100? And Cheryl, there's other things like income. I know we can grade on a scale from 1 to 100.
Yep. Savings account.
The thing that is, I just want to make clear the things that Cheryl and I say. When we say an income of 100 degrees income, so that is your definition of what that would be for you. So for like instance, for weight, we all put different numbers because we're all different people. Same thing for income. Some people are going to put a 3 million at, a 10 income or 30 million a year, or some people are going to put 100,000 a year would be a 10 or whatever the number is for you. It doesn't matter. So when we use words like 100% or 100 degrees or the word perfect, which a lot of people are like, oh, never use the word perfect. Well, the cool thing about the word perfect is you get to define what is perfect for you. So maybe a perfect income for you is 50,000 a year. Other people be 50,000 a month. So you get to decide what perfect is for you and set that as your bar. So what are some of the other things that we can measure, Cheryl, on a scale from 1 to 100?
The amount of money in your savings account.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that is a big one. Your credit score. I love the next one. Your current mindset. What is that?
Yeah, where are your current thoughts at? I mean, do you feel like you're having a lot of negative thoughts? Do you feel like, no, my mindset rock solid. I'm good with that. So where do you feel you are with your thoughts and beliefs and such?
Yeah. What about your emotional state?
Yeah, that's a big one for people.
It's super important to make sure that you've got that, you know, that your emotional state is really high. Because I think, Paul, a lot of times some of these other things can't even come into play unless your emotional state is already high.
So all of these things take energy.
Right.
So if you don't get your state right first, you have no shot at the other 9.
Right.
Absolutely.
What about the quality of your marriage or relationship, right? You're a significant other or a marriage, or, you know, your relationships, the quality of the relationships in your life with your family and friends.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like a general number for that. Like, as far as my family and friends go, I think my relationship with them is 70. It's good. Or 80. It's great. You know, 90. It's awesome. Like, I have amazing friends. We spend great time together. My family is amazing. We have amazing relationships and time together. So if that's maybe that's a part of your life that is at 90 or 100 degrees. But usually that's not the case.
Yeah. What about your relationship with a higher power or a relationship with God, right? It's whatever you think that is, right? That's your relationship.
Yep. So it's totally subjective.
Yep.
But just between you and you and God, where is that temperature at?
Yeah. And then what's the quality of your health? Now, that one is fantastic. And the thing I like most about that is we can tell very easily, Paul, where we're at, because we can take a health evaluation and get that number. If that number is not at 100, then we have work to do, right? Because that's where we want that to be.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people on this one especially are going to put a higher number than they should be. Again, this is all subjective, but you've got to take into consideration all the different health problems you're experiencing. Now, a lot of people just chalk that up to, well, I'm getting older, or that stuff just starts breaking after time, you know, and that's totally false. So you can get, you know, there's a chance that one of our certified holistic health coaches has contacted you and invited you to this class today. So we both encourage you to go back to them and say, hey, what was that health evaluation that Cheryl and Paul were talking about? And how can I take it? So by taking this quick evaluation, which takes 10 minutes to do, you'll actually get a score from 1 to 100 on what your health score is. So you'll know where your temperature is. And Cheryl, I think overall, people are pretty surprised at how low that number is. It's lower than they thought it would be.
Right. Absolutely. But I think that I think a lot of people know there's a problem, and I just think they don't have anywhere to turn. And so it's so wonderful to be able to turn to a holistic health coach or to this community, right? And that we know exactly how we can take a person from, you know, a 23 temperature to a high 90s or 100 temperature as far as their health is concerned. So it's fantastic that we have that availability here in the Elev8 group.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But so health is one, obviously, we really, really focus on. But Cheryl and I want to help you with all 10 of these things and other things as well. So we just kind of gave you a sample of 10. We wanted to keep it to 10 to keep the math simple. So what we encourage you to do is actually add all these together, these 10 scores, these 10 temperatures, and divide by 10. And you're going to get an average temperature for your life. So your life right now is at 72 degrees or wherever it's at. If it's lower than that, it's lower than 72, you might be experiencing some anxiety, like, I got to get going here. Like, there's a number on the scale that when you hit that, you're like, oh, I'm going to back away from the buffet from now on, or I'm going to do a little more. I'm going to park a little further away, or take the stairs instead of the elevator, right? Just get a little extra exercise in, because that weight is that's not cool, you know. So everyone's got that number, whether it be weight, income, or any of those other things we mentioned. So highly encourage you to take the time to score yourself on all 10 of those things. So Cheryl, talk to us about how do most people go about changing their temperature, but end up failing?
Yeah, that is a great, great question. And the way that that a lot of us do it, I definitely do it like this more often than not, is we use willpower.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about, you can use willpower, and I believe that you can use willpower for quite a while, and willpower will work, but it just won't work long term, right? It will work I know, because I, like I said, I've used that a lot in my life, just pure willpower, right? But what happens is when you're using willpower, you're pushing and pushing on something instead of it pulling you, right? And so you're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and you're strong and you're hard and it's hard and everything's hard. But if something's pulling you, then it's easy and it's simple and it works, right? So think about that. Would you rather be pushing something or pulling something? Or would you rather, yeah, absolutely. Or you could pull something all day, right? I mean, because it pulls you towards it. And I love that analogy because I was a real pusher, right? I would push everything in my life and people along, right?
Right.
But now just being able to feel the pull of something that I'm passionate about, right? When you're passionate about something, it pulls you along as you are, as you become more successful in all areas of your life. So the more you push, you will eventually fail. And I do believe that because you get tired, right? We all get tired. It's exhausting to push, to constantly push. So the great thing about that, though, Paul, is you don't need willpower to raise your temperature, which is so awesome. Thank goodness, right? Because that would be hard and it would just be, it would be a struggle.
Yeah, it would be. And Cheryl, we were talking about this earlier today, that you really feel pulled by tennis. Like that is just something that you don't have to push yourself to go do every day. No. You just feel pulled that I want to go do it.
That's right.
So what we want to do in the chat here, those of you that are on Zoom, you can type in the chat, is there something that is pulling you right now? Like if you're a certified holistic health coach, or if you're in some other profession or whatever you're doing in life, or there's something in your life like tennis, golf, whatever, something that pulls you. So you can understand what that feeling feels like, that it's not hard work because I just want to do it. We would love to hear from people and see what in their life is pulling them.
And I will say, Paul, something, because I was thinking about this after we talked about it, and I was thinking, is there anything else in my life that's pulling me like tennis does? Like I would play tennis, I kid you not, like 12 hours a day. I really would. I love it. I really love it. But I was thinking so I was kind of trying to break it down, right? I was trying to break down what I love to do. And I'll tell you one thing that I do love to do is I love to have the knowledge as a holistic health coach to share that with other people who feel like they have nowhere else to turn.
Yeah.
And that's what pulls me. That's what I love to do, because I know there's so many people out there like that. Like they don't know what to do. Well, all my friends are on drugs, so I guess I'll just, take the drugs. And I'm getting older. You said this earlier, that things start to hurt and fall apart and, and it's just, it doesn't have to happen, but people don't know where to turn. So being the person that people could turn to find out that information, like just makes me as happy as tennis.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my big pull is elevate. I just want to elevate myself. I want to elevate other people. I just feel pulled to do that. Like I don't get up and like, oh man, I got to go pull someone, or, push someone today or push myself. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day because it's pulling me that I want to do this so bad. So it's a great, great feeling. And it's basically, I know Becca typed in here purpose. So it's understanding what your purpose is. Why did God, we always say that two most important days in your life is the day you were born and the day you figure out why. So when you figure that out, that's what's going to pull you, which is your purpose here on this earth that God put you here for. So it's fantastic to feel that feeling. So the key to this whole thing, to raise your temperature. So hopefully we got that across here so far, that you have to raise your temperature. It's the whole ball game here. So you're wondering, okay, guys, stop talking about that. Just tell me how to do it so we can get on with this here. And boy, do we wish we could just tell you the one trick to raise your temperature, besides like getting a Bic lighter and get under your butt, right, Cheryl? that would get people going and get their temperature up. But that's more of a push and wouldn't work long term. So Cheryl and I, under this Elevate Your Life concept, have 12 things that fall under this mindset umbrella. So when we talk about mindset, so mindset is nothing more than your overall attitude. But there's a lot of things that go into that. There's a lot of things that go into raising your temperature, or why your temperature isn't where it needs to be right now. Isn't just one fix that we can do. And we're going to spend a week on each of these 12 things coming up here. But let's just burn through them, Cheryl, because we want to give people an overview of the things that are affecting their temperature right now in all areas of their life.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
What's the first thing?
Yeah, the first one, you guys, you've heard us talk about this a little bit, and it is super important. So it is, what is the story that you are telling yourself? Okay, what is the story? And a lot of times we all figured out, we became aware that we're telling ourselves a story that has to do with our past. And we do not need that story any longer. So we need a new story. And we do that by saying, I am so happy and grateful now that blank. So you've got to fill in that blank, right? I am so happy and grateful now that
I
I'm
weigh this
wildly
amount, or I have this income,
and
or
I have 1,000 friends, and I'm, whatever it is, but you've got to fill that in. And that's the story that you tell yourself now every single day. And it's super important to tell yourself that new story every single day. And you live into that story. That story will happen as you raise your temperature.
Absolutely. Change your story, change your life. So if there's one thing you could do today is, like Cheryl said, I'm so happy and grateful now that blank, and you got to fill in that blank, and you can write that sentence out 10 times or 20 times. So we're defining what your perfect life looks like by making these statements like this. What's another way, Cheryl, that we can elevate our temperature and mindset?
So it's exactly what we just talked a little bit about. It's your why. So it's the purpose that you have. It's what's pulling you. And that purpose, or the why that you have, I have found is the most important thing that you need to have. I mean, and you need to know what it is. And if you don't know, well, that's why we're going to go over these things, and we're going to take a whole class on how to find your why and make sure that you're very clear on what that is, because that will pull you forward, I believe, better than anything else will.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cheryl and I, we used to say that, we just got to find people to come to the Elevate community that are hungry, that really want it in life. But then we thought about it, and we're like, well, what makes people hungry? So, and Cheryl and I have seen this in dozens of people where they found out what their purpose was. They found out their whys, and then they weren't hungry anymore. They were starving. So that one thing can completely change your life, figuring out your purpose. And that purpose, that it's a good, strong purpose if it makes you starving. That I just got to have that. So that is a good, or if it makes you cry. I mean, it's a great purpose. Your why should make you cry. And when that happens, that there's passion and love and sincerity behind that.
Well, yeah. And why is that? It's because you have to be able to do whatever it takes to get what you want. And there's no way that you're going to be able to do that without a why big enough to make you go over all the obstacles, go over them, through them, around them, whatever you have to do to get what you want. It has to be big enough to go through all of the stuff, because there will be stuff. Yeah.
And Cheryl and I, we've made a conscious decision to not sugarcoat things on these podcasts and these calls. So when we say 100 degrees, getting your life up to that level, it's equivalent to climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard. We're not going to say that, this is all downhill. Because it's in the hard part is the inside part. It's working on you. Once you fix that, the whole thing happens automatically. But this is an inside game that we're all working on right now. We got to master this. And we're going through the 12 things that you have to fix in your life, or you have no shot at raising this temperature in your life or having the life you really want.
Correct.
What's number 3, Cheryl?
Woo. Well, now look, that would be strategy. And strategy.
So you need a strategy to climb Mount Everest? I thought we just go.
Well, you do. No, you've got to get some people to help you. You've got to get some pack animals. You better have the right gear. Yeah, you've got to have a lot of the things set, and you need to know the way you're going. So it would be nice to have the strategy.
So are you saying that we need to like have a plan and some preparation before
Listen,
we go
don't
on
get
this?
crazy. Don't get crazy, Paul. Don't get crazy. I think it's just as important to start doing it than sitting around thinking about what the strategy is. So yes, you need a strategy, but it's also super important to get into action as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know that strategy is only 20% of it. The rest of the stuff is the 80%. So a lot of people make it out like, oh, I don't have the strategy figured out, like Cheryl mentioned. Listen, that's only 20% of the ball game here. Yeah. The other stuff is what makes or breaks people. It's usually especially in business, it's never the strategy that makes people go bankrupt. It's their execution of the strategy. That execution is always the problem, not the strategy. I shouldn't say always. There's some better or worse ways to go about doing things. So I'm all about strategy. But if you don't have these other things, then you have no shot at being successful. The next one, Cheryl, is really interesting. And this is something that we have a little disagreement on at times. And everyone's, by the way, everything that we say, this is our interpretation of things. And you need to figure out in your life, is that true? Or, what you're going to buy into and what you're not going to buy into. And this next one is something I feel extremely certain about.
So do I.
Yeah, I know you do. So it's the order of your needs. So there's 6 human needs. I don't care who you are. Every single human being on this planet needs 6 things. And I have the order of these 6 things as number 1, obviously growth, because I'm Elevate. So I am encouraging everyone to make that their number 1 need, that I've got to grow. I've got to get better in all areas of my life. So it's that obsession with growth that makes you a stronger person. So now you can go out and contribute, because growing is only going to be the success part of the equation. It's the fulfillment part that actually really matters, because so many people are successful in this world, but they don't feel fulfilled. And I think that's ultimate failure when you have all the success and no fulfillment. So I'm doing all this growth so that I can contribute and give to all of you and come here on Mondays and pour into your life. And from doing that, I feel extreme love and connection with all of you. Like I have extreme love and connection with Cheryl, working on all these notes and going through this, and with all of you, helping everybody in getting all these stories coming in of people who have elevated their life. We have this Facebook group we'll tell you about in a moment here. It's called Elev8 Tribe. So you can go to Facebook, type in Elev8 Tribe. We'd love for you to join us. But we have everybody on there. Whenever you do something that's elevating your life, you are hashtagging it Elev8 Tribe, so that we can all see the different things everyone's doing in their lives and congratulate each other and root each other on. So it's a great, great community that we'll talk about later, but that's the love and connection comes from. And from that love and connection, I feel massive significance in my life, because I made a difference in someone else's life. And I'm getting all these letters from people and messages and texts and emails and whatnot that say, Paul, you made a significant difference in my life. I remember this just a couple of weeks ago, this guy called me. We haven't actually talked in like 3 or 4 years. And he was at some kind of conference or something. And they said, call the person that made the biggest influence on you. And he said, Paul Croto. And he picked up the phone and called me. It was like a Saturday afternoon. And I know Linda feels the same. And Linda Tyler, she feels that the daily dose wouldn't exist, or the nightly dose wouldn't exist if it wasn't for me. So I feel like I played a significant role in a lot of people's lives and things. And that's super important. What's also important, and Cheryl will argue is the most important thing, is having variety in your life. So we all say variety is the spice of life. So it's super important. Like there's no question that all of these are needs. But Cheryl has this at number 1. So Cheryl, kind of talk to people, because I'm sure you're not the only person in the world that has variety at number 1, how your mind works though, and why you're still mega successful. I mean, probably the most successful person I ever met, by having variety as your number 1 need.
Well, first of all, variety has been my number 1 need since I was born, I think. And I love it because I like different new things. I tend to get bored a little bit if everything is the same, right? So that's why I was saying that variety is number 1. Although once I became aware of the importance of growth, then I told Paul that variety and growth are number 1.
Well, no, you just said you found different ways to grow.
Oh yeah, I did.
You put
Yeah,
variety into your personal growth.
that's absolutely right. So I try to do all sorts of different things with everything I do though, right? So that's how it
Yeah.
is.
So
with
I
everything.
mean, there's no one that contributes more than Cheryl.
I like variety
Right. But
in
she
everything.
contributes in a lot of different ways.
Right.
So
So
that brings
everything's
variety.
different.
So everything we went through, she still had the same order of everything, but she brings variety into all of it so that she doesn't feel like she is a United States or former United States Marine living in a box like I am and having a weird haircut.
No, I'm definitely not. I like to.
So we're a little wired a little bit different in that, because if I don't have that structure, I am lost. Like I feel horrible. I have to have it. And that makes Cheryl crazy.
And we will say that you guys, all of you, are probably somewhere in between.
That is fair to say.
Yeah.
We are the two opposite extremes here. So everyone will fall in between the two of that. So those are your needs. That's something that's going to dictate your temperature. Now, the sixth thing is certainty. So my sixth need, everyone has a need for certainty. But if you make that number one, which is what 98% of the population does.
Yeah.
What are your chances of raising your temperature? First, like around zero.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't, because you're certain. You want to have certainty. You don't want things. The definition of certainty is you don't want things to change in your life. You don't want to get better. You don't want to get worse. You just want to stay here. And there is no such thing as the status quo. So once you get that out of your head, that, oh, I'm just staying the same. You're not. Everything's going up or going down every minute of every day. So that's why we're so obsessed with Elevate. So you really got to watch where your needs are and what you put. And this was a big change in my life, because I was putting certainty number one. It's just something that's in all of us to put it number one, because your mind only has one goal, and that's to keep you safe. So we have got to understand that our mind wants to move certainty way up there. But Cheryl's very good at pushing it back down and saying, need any of that certainty stuff around here.
No. I like stuff to change all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about number 5, Cheryl. What's the fifth thing that controls your temperature, your mindset?
Yeah, it's your beliefs. And by the way, do you even know what your beliefs are? Because that would be something very good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's boy, we didn't, I mean, we all know what we believe, but until you start putting pen to paper and really, I believe that blank, you'll start having like, wow, that was powerful. Like things you didn't even realize you believe will come out, and some bad things will come out that you believe that you need to. And I'm telling you, there is nothing more important than going through all your beliefs and fixing the ones that are bad, that are not serving you, because this is the thing that is absolutely causing a major problem with your temperature, is your beliefs. Yeah. The next thing ties right into it. So number 6 is what you associate pain and pleasure to. The two driving forces in life. Everything we do in life is for one of two reasons. Either it makes us feel good or it helps us not feel bad. That's it. So, but beliefs tie right into this, because so for me, I'm absolutely certain that exercise brings me more pleasure than pain, because I just feel tremendous benefits when I do exercise. Now, this morning, I was doing my Peloton class. My quads were in extreme pain for an hour. I mean, like burning pain. And I almost threw up afterwards. But so people will equivalent lots of pain to that, but I still felt so good by doing that class and finishing it that I associate more pleasure to exercise than pain. Now, a lot of people don't. They're thinking exercise, I'm not going to go through that kind of pain. I don't want to do that. So they avoid it, because when they think of exercise, they think of pain. So what are some of the things, Cheryl, that you have in your pleasure and pain thing?
Well, what I'd like to say first is that there's not, I almost threw up, Paul. If you didn't throw up, it wasn't hard enough.
Yeah, listen, so toughen up, Buttercup.
I need you to get on that thing and write it like you mean it. Okay, just say. Okay, no, I think that's absolutely right, though. I think that so I'll just stick with the workout part, but I always thought that hot yoga was painful. And I really did. And even though I knew that it was so good for me, and it is very good for me because I have to focus on one thing for an hour and a half, which I've never been able to do that my entire life. So I had to change the way that I thought about that, right? Because I wouldn't go. I'd go like once a week, and then I'd go like once every 2 weeks. And then I'd like get myself all ready, and I'd get all my stuff in my car, and I'd get in my car and I'd sit there, and then I'd get out and go back in the house because it was too painful for me. And so I switched it, and I'm like, and I had to write down like all of the great things about hot yoga for me. And it completely changed, the pain and pleasure levels. And so now I really have in my mind that it really pleasurable, and it helps so much. And I had to do the same thing with the cold plunge. I mean, that's another one. That's not, people say that is really painful. No, it is not. And so you really have to be, first of all, aware of the things that you want and the things that you want to do. And then you have to consciously change those, and maybe even write some things down of why it's more pleasure than pain, right? Because if it's more painful, you're going to have to change that in your own mind, right? You're going to have to start thinking about it, like you said, differently.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, Cheryl, the cold plunge, because both of us, we just feel pulled to do it every day. Like if I missed it, I would feel like I missed something today.
Right.
So great analogy. The other thing that's a compass in your life is your values. Something we don't even think much about. Like, what are your values and what order are they in? So not only what are your values, but it's extremely important to put them in the right order, because when push comes to shove, you're going to have to make decisions in your life on what you value more. So for instance, I was in the Marines, as I just mentioned, and I said, freedom to me is more important than my health. Now, most people would say, well, there's nothing more important than health, because if you're dead, you're not going to do any good for anybody. But I felt so strongly about freedom and fighting for my country that I was willing to put health second and freedom number one. So my number one is freedom by far. Health is two. Cheryl, I think your number one's freedom too.
Yeah, freedom and health, they're number one. I said I'm not putting one at one and one at two. No, they're both they're both the most important thing to me. Health and freedom.
I think when we did the show, you had like 8 things at one. So
no, I only had 2.
Oh, then there was family, and then there was faith, and
yeah, writing my own rules. I can have lots of number ones.
It's an 8-way tie here. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing, this was a funny story, because I'm flying on an airplane. I'm listening to this recording about standards, and I get off the airplane. I call up Cheryl. It's like 11:30 at night. I'm like, Cheryl, I have no standards in life. I just realized that. I didn't say that. So I have no standards. She's like, what in the world? Like, were you drinking on that flight, or what were you doing? I'm like, no, I was listening to Tony Robbins recordings. So Cheryl, talk to us about our standards and how important this is for raising your temperature.
Well, it is. You have to know, first of all, you have to know what your standards are. And I think the problem with your standards is if you have standards, and we all have them, whether we know it or not, we all have our standards, right? And if you go against or do something that is different than what your standards are, then I think you start feeling bad about yourself. You lose self-confidence, you lose self-worth. I think that and then there starts a war within you, because you always want to live. I always say live up to your standards, right? You always want to make sure that you are living the way that you know is the right and true way for you to live. And if you are going against that, then it just becomes, I think, a war within yourself.
Absolutely, it really does. And the raise your standards, change, if you want to change your life, it starts with raising your standards and saying that this isn't good enough anymore. I'm going to live up here. And I think the biggest change in my life was when I realized I was living like a 3 or 4 star life, that kind of lifestyle. And I wanted to live a 5-star lifestyle, like live that when we can all decide what kind of lifestyle we want to live at. So why not set the standard at 5-star? Why would we do anything that isn't 5-star? So that was a big change in the big decision in my life, that I would never do anything that was 4-star or 3-star. I'm doing everything 5-star. And when you set that standard, it just happens, because you draw the line in the sand. The next one is huge, Cheryl, your identity.
Oh, God. Well, and I love how we have this thing that we have this little sentence and we say, I am the type of person who, and then you need to fill in that blank. Like, I'm just that type of person. And I think about that a lot. Like, I work out every day. Well, that's not a big deal. That's just who I am. That's just the type of person that I am. Right. And so I think that is so important to do that. If there's something you want to do in your life, like reach out to 2 people a day or do this many health evaluations a day or whatever it is in your life, you need to say, I am the type of person that, and then put that in the blank. And I think it makes a huge difference. It's made a huge difference for me.
Absolutely. And it also works in the reverse too. So earlier in this podcast, we were talking about willpower. So I don't use heroin. Okay, just putting it out there to the world.
That's good to know, Paul.
But I don't need any awards or people saying, oh my God, Paul has such unbelievable willpower that he never uses heroin. It's just not who I am. I would never do that. So when you have that attitude towards all the bad things in your life, it's just not who I am. I would never do that. No matter how much money you pay me, whatever, I would never do that. That's not who I am. When you start understanding that you are saying this hundreds of times a day about different things, well, I'm just not the kind of person. I mean, he or she, it can do it, but not me. I'm not that kind of person. I mean, it's almost like we say it that way, like verbatim. So you really got to catch yourself when you say things like that. And it's happening all day long, that your identity is how you see yourself. So the next one, Cheryl, is my big one.
Yes, it is.
10.
Yes, your state. What
number 10 is state.
Are you in?
Yeah, so I'm I and a bunch of people here in this class went to Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins, and it was all about state, understanding that your state is just a decision. You don't need to be make a ton of money or be at a certain weight or certain anything. As a matter of fact, the only way you can get those things is if you're in the great state. So it's super important to control your state. And we're going to do a whole podcast in just that alone. But Cheryl, I'm going to leave the next one up to you because you are the definition of number 11.
I don't know about that, but I like to try. Oh my gosh, it's mental toughness. You have to have mental toughness. And it's not easy. That is not easy to have mental toughness, but it is so fascinating that we can work on it, right? There's tons of books about it. I use it specifically for tennis because let me tell you, it is a serious mind game.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
It is.
But I love the mind shift that you and I have had recently, where what used to be tough, or I'm sorry, it's still tough, but we associate massive pleasure to it now. So we can do hard things.
Oh, of course.
And we actually look for hard things to do, like seek them out. Well, what's something hard we could do today?
Yeah.
So we've had a massive change in that. And that's something we'll work on, help you work on too. And last but not least, it's your focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. So what do you need to focus on today? You got to live a life by design, not by default. And most of us are living on default. So we have to really think about, what do I need to focus on this moment today to make today a great day? And Cheryl, I know there's a study we heard about that 80% of all women either have insecurity, lack of self-confidence, or lack of self-esteem. And we just talked about this last week, this esteem part, that the value we put on ourselves. And I see myself being extremely valuable. I'm a value 10, but I also see everybody else in the world that God created as a value of 10 also.
Yeah, I think it's super important though to, I don't think you can value or see the value in others if you don't see it in yourself. So it's super important for every single one of us to make sure that we are that we value ourselves at a 10. And if we don't, then we just need to really be aware of that and then really work on that. Something that's helped me so much is just really realizing, we talk a little bit about the cookie jar, but putting like the hard things that we do in the cookie jar will give you, and then being able to pull those things out and look at them and see the hard things that you have accomplished or that you've done really can help with your self-esteem and self-worth.
So Cheryl, we only have a couple minutes left. So let's just give them something they can take and do today. Because all these other 12 things that we just went through, we're going to take some time. We're going to get you to come back to more podcasts to hear this. But what's one thing they could do, Cheryl, today that would make their temperature go up?
Well, I think there's a few of them here that we can do. But first of all, we have to be aware of where we're at, right? So that's the very first thing. So make sure you know where you're at. And we already went through and helped you guys figure that out. But you can just start with different things and you can just define what these are. So you're like, I weigh this amount, right? So define what it is that would be 100% for you. Like for me, if I weighed 138 pounds, that's 100% for me. Because that's when I know
that's 100
I feel
degrees for you is 138.
Yep, 138.
Yep.
Yeah, 138 is.
So what we're asking you to do is go back through those 10 things we went through before. Yep. And actually define what 100 degrees means. Because most people don't even know what do you want what would be a 100-degree savings account? You know, for me, it's $10 million. For you, it might be $1 million. Who knows? But everyone's got a different number where you would feel like I'm at a level 10 in my savings account. Now, this is all based on you. It's not based on my opinion or Cheryl's opinion or anybody else's opinion. It's based on your opinion. So really, it comes down to making a decision right now that I'm going to live life at 100 degrees. I think that's the most important decision to make. And I hope everyone makes that decision right now. Then you should score yourself on all these 10 things that we went over earlier. And we'll post the notes into the chat or the messaging thing here so that everybody has those 10 things again. And then last but not least, yes, Cheryl, the third key that we can give to people to wrap this thing up is you should hang around with us.
Okay, that's great, Paul. You should though.
Well, proximity is the key, you know, and yes. Cheryl's amazing. I mean, if you're a female and you're looking for a role model, you know, a mentor to have, Cheryl had an amazing mentor in her life with Dr. Wallach and learned so much from that. And now she's turned around and become a mentor for women. So, yeah. I mean, here's a woman that does $10 million a month in sales. I mean, I don't know how many women do that, but I don't think it's many. I haven't checked the stats on that recently, but I'm going to say it's a few. It's a small group of people. She's extremely successful, you know, and extremely awesome. I mean, she's at 100 degrees. That's why I spend as much time humanly possible with Cheryl so that I can keep my temperature at 100 degrees like she has it. And I think we feed off each other. And there's some days where she's at 90 and I'm at 100 and we go back and forth. So it's being around people that live at 100 degrees. And we invite you to go to that Facebook group. So it's called Elev8 Tribe. So if you're on Facebook, go to type in the little search bar there, Elev8 Tribe. Join us today because you're going to be around thousands of people who have one thing that they're thinking about, and that's Elevate. I got to make things better today than they were yesterday, improving that 1% today. And we have a very, very powerful group, and we want you to really join this movement and get involved with us because proximity is everything. If you're around someone that's at 50 degrees, the chance of you getting 100 is not good.
No, you're cold. You don't want to do it. You're freezing. We want to get hot.
Yeah. And there's a lot of friends of mine from high school. I love them. But they're just not, they didn't want to be at 100 degrees. So I had to go out and find a new tribe of people and have all of you now. And I have Cheryl that live at 100 degrees. So that's where I wanted to live. And that's how I got to 100 degrees is because I surrounded myself with people I got close to the fire. So follow the heat.
Yes. And elevate.
We're following you, Cheryl.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. Because we're all about elevating. That's what we do. And I love it, Paul, that it's every aspect of our lives. It's not just one thing. It's not just two things, but it's just so many different things that really make us so well-rounded and then able to go out, turn around and help so many other people. And I just love it.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody. That's our first podcast. super excited to have this up and available. You can please share that with people. If you thought you got value from this, please share with people. Again, get people in the Elevate tribe, and we can really build an awesome community. So thanks, Cheryl, so much for your expertise today.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing all of you. We're going to be doing another podcast on Thursday, which is Elevate Your Leadership. So it's a different kind of elevate on that day, but it's fantastic.
Yes.